you can always go backwards and listen to Saigyo again. That's why it's being taped.
That's nice.
You just listen to YouTube. You can go back and listen to Saigyo. Saigyo was a 12th century sort of Buddhist poet from Japan. We got to read from the love section, which is pretty cool. So, anyways, so those romantics that want to hear just romance and can't deal with Buddhism. Anyways, we'll read this one poem again. Love likened to lemongrass. Does this love of mine face one way only? More perversely straying, never perversely straying. Rather, it is the lemongrass in the meadow tossed in ever-shifting winds. Now he's saying the love does stray like the grass. His love?
Yeah.
He can only. How can he speak of the other's love?
So maybe others also, but he speaks. He said that
his love.
My love of mine.
His love, then. Even his is shifting, then. So everybody shifts. It's shifting. Love is shifting with the wind. Her face, when we parted, a parting, I can never forget. Sky is partly romantic, and for her keepsake she left it printed on the moon. Goodness.
Very good.
Her face when we parted a parting, I can never forget, and for keepsake she left it printed on the moon. What is the word for moon? Kana? Probably. We're going to learn. If we paid attention, we could learn Japanese almost through the poetry. Kana is moon. That's how I was learning Punjabi from the Quran. Anyways, does the moon say grieve? Does it force these thoughts on me? And yet the tears come to my reproving eyes. Goodness. Does the moon say grieve? Does it force these thoughts on me? And yet the tears come to my reproving eyes. Here he's saying the word kana again, which must be the moon. And
that's the moon. He always sees the moon. Does that to him.
Does the moon produce, well, at nighttime, right? Are you gonna grieve? Are you gonna have thoughts? Or does the moon cause it? Who's causing it? Does the moon say grieve? Does it force these thoughts on me? And yet the tears come to my reproving eyes. Remember how the Buddhist priest, the abbot of the monastery, said if he ever meets Saigyo, he's going to hit him or split his head open, because he's not supposed to be obsessing over poetry and thinking and romance.
I don't remember that. Where that comes from?
Yeah, but then the priest, when Saigyo shows up at the temple, the priest is very nice to him and likes him. But he just says that he's writing. A good hardcore Buddhist monk doesn't write poetry, for goodness sakes. But here he has these grieving love thoughts.
They do.
That's why. This is why the Japanese like him, because he's a romantic. When the moon shines, without the smallest blemish. I think of her, and then my heart disfigures it, blurs it with tears. Gosh. Whoa. And the poem ends on the word kana, which is the moon again. When the moon shines without the smallest blemish, I think of her, and then my heart disfigures it and blurs it with tears. So first the moon is shining very clear, and then he gets these feelings. And
with his tears, you see that water blurs away.
His tears come and his vision is blurry.
And changes that clarity of the moon. His fingers it as he falls. It's amazing. Back then, I mean, before 2000 years earlier, 2000.
Do you imagine to live such a simple life you're in a hut in the mountains? You have no company. You don't have a cell phone or Wi-Fi.
It opens all the...
and you have no visitors, and the only person that comes to see you is the moon.
You know, you become trustee, you do that.
Then you have to think of the past of your ex-wife, and your tears come to your eyes. What a nightmare. Godness. And then the Buddhist abbot screams at you for writing poetry. What are you going to do? I guess you could just write poetry. I think I'd do what he did. I would write a poem, The Moon. When I gaze at it these days, lost in thoughts of love, how deeply the moon's hue seems dyed in sorrow. Goodness. And how could there koro? Where's the moon word? There's no kana, there's koro. So much for learning Japanese. But they said the moon's hue. When I gaze at it these days, lost in thoughts of love, how deeply the moon's hue seems dyed in sorrow. It's dramatic, his romantic problems. As rays of moonlight stream. As rays of moonlight stream through a sudden gap in the rain clouds. If we could meet even for so brief a moment. Apparently the moon rays have just sort of, they come suddenly between the clouds. As rays of moonlight stream through a sudden gap in the rain clouds. If we could meet even for so brief a moment. Remember how like they talk about the master giving a glance and you just have a split second? Glance. Of course, the moon is a symbol of inter-enlightenment. Now I understand when you said remember and swore to do the same. Already you had it in mind to forget. Interesting poem. We've heard this one. Now I understand when you said remember and swore to do the same, already you had it in mind to forget.
Yeah, afraid to forget, certainly.
Is that when you say remember me, you're actually saying forget me?
No, no.
What?
In your mind is the fear of forgetfulness.
Fear of forgetting.
So.
Oh, you when you say remember me, you in your mind you have fear that you'll be forgotten.
Yeah, certainly.
Okay.
You don't tell them.
You must have more emotional intelligence than me.
That's when people pass away, they ask you to remember them.
Yeah.
It seems that the remembrance is something important, like the master asks you to remember the master all the time also.
Also, they say when somebody passes away, you say, remember me.
Yeah, remember them.
But then
Remember
to
them.
go
It's a loved one.
for life to go on, you forget them now.
You remember them once in a while.
You remember
You don't
them.
necessarily forget them. It's not easy to forget anyway. It's better to tell you forget them.
Forget me.
Because
Okay, you could say forget me, and then
it's not easy to remember, to forget.
whatever happens,
People will
happens
remember.
anyways, whether you say remember or don't. Now I understand when you said remember and swore to do the same already, you had it in mind to forget. I thought Saigyo had like sort of a love affair with some upper caste woman in the court, and it was an impossible love, sort of like Hafez had. And he was in love, but it was with a aristocratic woman, which he was inaccessible to him. But nobody knows those answers.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of lost in ancient history. Now, we're continuing with love poems from Saigyo, who is a Japanese waka poet who was admired by Basho. So we learned about him through Basho. When Basho was taking on the narrow road to the deep north, he was following in Saigyo's footsteps. I know how you must feel. And with those words, she grows more hateful than if she'd never spoken at all. I know how you feel. And with those words, she grows more hateful than if she'd never spoken at all.
Yeah, because some people don't like to hear that I know how you, because you never know how somebody feels.
Yeah, if you say, I know how you feel, do I know how you feel?
Feelings are just impossible to.
Maybe you're brushing somebody off when you say, I know how you feel. And with those words, she grows more hateful than if she'd never spoken at all. So he probably tells her, I'm in love with you, and she says, I know how you feel.
No.
Well, tell me, what's it mean?
It could be anything, I don't know. Maybe he knows how she feels that he's passing away. Maybe he didn't want him to live, and he wanted to live anyway.
He could have left, and she didn't want him to leave. Mm-hmm. He said, I want to go become a Buddhist monk. Anyways, the poem says, I know how you must feel. And with those words, she grows more hateful than if she had never spoken at all. We're reading love poems. See, love.
It doesn't say who said those words.
But his
like
ex-girlfriend, I don't know.
It seems that she said the words because if she hadn't spoken at all. So she told him that she knows how he feels the way.
Yeah, she said she knows how he feels.
And she got more angry at him.
Yeah.
And then he hated her for that.
He hated her for being angry and disagreeable?
No. And
Oh,
he
well.
grew more angry.
Well, it's a poem. You can figure it out.
But it